Absolute horror show that the Conservatives have inflicted on working people in this country, on our public services, on anybody paying a mortgage. Every one of them has been punished by the incompetence of the Conservative government.
That is more money for Scotland's NHS, schools and other vital public services. The fact is that this is an incompetent SNP government that is bad with taxpayers' money. So more of the same won't cut it.
I tell you what, John Swinney's got some front. The man whose dirty fingerprints are all over the tram scandal, the ferry scandal, the Salmond inquiry scandal, the named persons scandal. How much has this man's mistakes cost all of us?
The Steamy Politics Podcast from The Scotsman.
Hello and welcome to The Steamy, The Scotsman's Politics Podcast. Kate Forbes, the Deputy First Minister, shocked the Scottish political world when she announced she was standing down at the Holyrood election in May. She's widely seen as one of the SNP's brightest talents and was often tipped as a future First Minister, but in a statement last year, Kate, who has a young daughter, said she did not want to seek re-election and miss any more of the precious early years of family life. Rachel Amery, the Scotsman's political correspondent, recently sat down with Kate to talk about the highs, the lows and life after politics, and that interview is coming up later on in the podcast. But before that, Scottish Labour is meeting in Paisley on Friday this week for a one-day conference ahead of the Holyrood election in May. Polls show the party currently on course for a disastrous result, potentially coming in third behind the SNP and Reform. So what's behind this implosion, and can the party do anything to turn things around? Well, to discuss that very issue, I'm joined by David Ball, the Scotsman's Deputy Political Editor, by Andrew Quinn, the Scotsman's Westminster Correspondent, and by Rachel, who, as I said earlier, is the Scotsman's Political Correspondent. Andrew, I think we probably all know what's behind Labour's crap polling. We've talked about it many times in the podcast. It's all over newspapers. We know it's the UK government's fault, the unpopular UK Labour government. But I guess one of the things at this conference, which, as I say, is taking place on Friday, one of the notable things will be how the interactions go between the Scottish Labour MPs and the Scottish Labour MSPs, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm going to say I'm quite gutted. I'm not going to make it, even though it's a hometown conference for me. And I'm always saying, we should have stuff in Paisley and that, because...
Oh man, yeah, you should recommend. What are the best pubs?
Across from the town hall, there is the Anchor at the Abbey, which has newly been done up, which is very nice. But I would also say the Bull Inn you should go to, which is a little bit of a walk, and the Wee House. So for afterwards, if you're looking to drown your sorrows, you can go to those places. I know my mum and dad live only 15 minutes walk from the town hall, so it would have been perfect. But that's a moving flat in London, so there's no way that I can make it. But yeah, it's going to be quite awkward. I mean, I'm a bit jealous of those who will be there, because obviously Anna Starwer said Keir Starmer should resign as PM a couple of weeks ago. And it really led to quite tense moments between some of the MPs. I mean, one MP accused Anas of treachery. In fact, Paisley MP Joanna Baxter it was in the Parliamentary Labour Party meeting. She said she'd never seen such treachery as that of Anas Sarwar. So it'll be interesting to see Anas meeting her on her home turf. Also, he used to be a dentist in Paisley. I'm going for all the connections to the town. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I think some of the MPs felt a bit miffed about it because they just don't think it helps. Some of them privately think the PM needs to go, so they don't think that Anna Sarwar was wrong to say that Keir Starmer should resign. But yeah, it's going to make for some real awkward sort of viewing, I'm sure. But they'll probably put on a front that they're all kind of partners, that they're all happy. But if you go to the pub afterwards, so yeah, check out all these different pubs that I'm saying. That might be where you hear people telling you what they really think about everything that's going on. But yeah, it's all because the UK government's really unpopular, isn't it? They've made was it 15 different U-turns? I think that doesn't help. You can U-turn if a policy is unpopular, but I think consistently doing it just looks a little bit like they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, you are actually the second person who's recommended the Black Bull Inn, if that's the correct name.
The Bull Inn, not the Black.
Oh, the Bull Inn, okay, yeah.
The Bull Inn, it's on New Street. There's also a chip shop that Paolo Nutini's parents used to run called Castle
There you go. There you go. That's a full night out planned from beginning to end then.
Yeah, you can go to Vienna's, that's a nightclub as well, so yeah.
David, it's a big question, but can Scottish Labour turn things around? I mean, obviously this conference will be all about its plans for the Holyrood election, its policies, its announcements. It'll be a big kind of rallying the troops from Anna Sarwar. Do you think it is too late now?
It does feel like it, doesn't it? Which seems a bit daft because, I mean, the election campaign hasn't even started yet and we're already kind of writing them off. I think there is a route for them to win the election. It's not going to be easy, and like all signs point to the SNP being the biggest party. So it is going to be extremely difficult. I don't know what they do without the SNP putting their foot in it, essentially, in a big way, which doesn't look like happening. But like you said, this is going to be, I think Andrew's right, this is about putting on a united front. Labour are quite good at doing that when they have to, showing that they're all pulling in the same direction. There will be policies. I think we're going to hear about their kind of housing plans tomorrow, their sort of affordable housing target. I mean, the Tories have set theirs out and the SNP have kind of struggled to get anywhere near their target. So that, I mean, but all these things are good, and we've heard some policies from Labour in the last couple of weeks, but a lot of it has been repeating what we've already heard from them over the last couple of years even. So we do really need to kind of see some of those concrete plans and some detail on it pretty soon if they want to try and turn things around. Anna Sarwar, yeah, it's a big day for him. He's got to just throw everything at this, his speech. Whether any of this has any impact on the voters is the problem for Labour, because they've been trying to keep positive and bringing forward pretty meaty plans. It's not really had an impact on the polls, so it's hard to see how something at the conference is going to move the dial even slightly. As Andrew said, I expect Anna Sarwar will be getting photos at his old dentist in the morning. It would just be making it about him. They want to present Anna Sarwar as kind of more personable First Minister in waiting than John Swinney. And this is a good opportunity to do it. But whether voters care with the UK government's kind of legacy hanging over the party, it's probably unlikely.
Yeah, Rachel, what do you think? Because you'll be there at the conference on Friday as well with David. I should say that I'm not going to be there because I'm actually on holiday, effectively in Crieff. But what do you think about this, Rachel? And do you think it's too late, or do you think there's still a chance to kind of change the narrative before Scots go to the polls in May?
I think if we're looking at the entire party as a whole, we really are counting down the clock at this point. There's only a matter of weeks left. Parliament has only got, I believe, just over a month left. That's really not a lot of time. You can see that Anna Sarwar is trying to bring up the Queen Elizabeth Hospital scandal quite a lot, for example, and other issues that he knows that his party can look a bit better than the SNP on. But it just does feel a bit too late. I'm quite interested to see, as Andrew was saying, the dynamic between the MPs and the MSPs when it comes to this party conference. I'm also quite interested to see just the sort of the mood music, because quite often I've gone to these party conferences where you think it's going to be all doom and gloom, and it's not. They seem quite upbeat and optimistic. So I wonder if that's the tone that we'll get this weekend at this party conference. It'll be quite interesting to see. But yeah, of course, all of the listeners can look on the Scotsman's website throughout the weekend for all the best analysis and comment and news stories coming out of it from David and myself. Well, from Labour to a party that is thoroughly enjoying Labour's implosion, Rachel, you sat down with Kate Forbes recently. What did you talk about? Yeah, well, as you know, Kate Forbes is standing down, despite having one of the most powerful jobs in the country as Deputy First Minister. So we really just had a look back at her career, sort of right back to day one, how she felt coming in as an MSP in Parliament back in 2016, entering government for the first time, back to the 2021 election, where she got the biggest majority of any politician that year, the sort of that infamous SNP election, leadership election in 2023 as well, and some of the other sort of highlights of her career. So let's take a listen.
Well, Kate Forbes, thank you very much for joining us on The Steamy today to have a look back at your career before you stepped down from frontline politics. To start off with, let's just go back to day one. Day one as an MSP. What's your memories of that day?
Being totally terrified and unsure about what was required of me. I think up to that point, you have been a candidate. Your whole world is the communities, the constituents, the front doors, and you win. And if memory serves, at like 3 a.m, I got an email from the Parliament saying, "Congratulations on being elected. Here's the details about turning up on day one." And turned up on day one. I was sitting next to Mike Rumbles, if you remember, who was a Lib Dem MSP on day one. And I was so, I was so unfamiliar with everybody. I asked him if he was a Conservative, which he was very offended by. But that's how little I knew about what I was getting myself into.
So let's look back at some lots of highlights to your career. Obviously, you're Deputy First Minister, but let's have a look at some of the things that you've done in your career. Like, let's go back to stepping in to do the budget at the last minute after Dermot Mackay resigned. How was that for you? Well, now looking back, now that you've been Finance Secretary, you've been the Economy Secretary, looking back, how?
I mean, it's really difficult to go back to a period where you didn't know all the things that you know now. But if I go back to then, it was such a mammoth thing to be a Cabinet Secretary and to be a member of Cabinet. And up to that point, I'd always been able to refer to a boss for decisions I was making in the finance space. But that day, having to just go in and decide yourself what the answer was and realise that there was a lot riding on your shoulders was terrifying. The funny story I always remember is that I was so sure I'd look terrified that I wrote at the top of every page of my speech in massive letters, "Smile." And the former First Minister leaned over and she was like, "I think the cameras might pick up on that." So I then proceeded to scribble out the word "smile" on every page of my, 30-page speech. So these are the things that you do.
The things that you have to learn in the job, I suppose, when to smile and when not to smile. Yeah. And let's look at the 2021 election. I think I'm right in saying that you had the biggest majority of anybody at that point.
That's what they say. Certainly what I say. If someone can confirm that isn't accurate, that would be helpful.
I think that is the accurate number. So that must seem pretty special to realise that.
It was actually, because we'd come through 18 months of COVID. I'd been responsible for providing funding for businesses. And we all remember how phenomenally difficult it was for businesses. And, I just remember assuming at that election that people would still be so angry about their experiences and they would hold me responsible. But then during the count, which was during the day, the boxes kept piling up and piling up and piling up under my name. So I was like, I must have the figures wrong. There's no way that these can be done in counts of 5,000 because just way too many boxes. They must be done in counts of 500. So I was counting the boxes as counts of 500 or whatever it is. I might have got that slightly wrong and was way out. And then someone was like, no, that's counts of 5,000. So it was quite amazing. And because it was during the day, of course, my family could come as well. And so that felt like, it did feel, it's the most important feedback, isn't it? Whatever you wonderful journalists write about us, there's nothing that is more important than the feedback from the voters. And you get that report card every 5 years. And for me, that is the report card that I care about the most.
Mm-hmm. Leadership contest as well. Now, you got very, 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 very close to winning and becoming the next SNP leader. It looked like that was going to happen until you shared some topics, such as equal marriage, for example, and things like that. Do you have any regrets about the things that you said during that leadership campaign, or would you do it the same if you had to do it again?
I think the way that we did the leadership campaign was absolutely true to the values that I have about being open and honest with the electorate. And I'm very relaxed about democracy, which is that I think voters should know who their politicians are or their candidates are, and then make a decision on the basis of who they really are and not on the basis of who they pretend to be. I think for me, I absolutely believe that I would always be as open as possible in any repeat of a process. and let the voters decide. And I'm certainly not one that bears grudges or demanded a recount or whatever it is. Very relaxed about democracy, and I would absolutely remain open and honest. And the fact that just so many people wrote to me saying, I really disagree with you, but you're one of the first people I've seen that's just answered a question, meant a lot. And I think right now people are looking for authentic, open and honest politicians.
Yeah. Do you think if you hadn't done those interviews, do you think you would be First Minister right now?
At the time, people ask me that question a lot, and I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that if you remember, I came very close to winning. There was only a few votes in it. But the point I've always made is if you win something as a fraud, I think you get found out pretty quick. And to have spent your whole career essentially running away from difficult questions is not a great way to lead. So I think it would have been really difficult to sustain being a leader, having won on the basis of dishonest answers.
That was Kate Forbes, the Deputy First Minister, talking to Rachel Amery. But that's all we've got time for this week's podcast. Please stay tuned to the Scotsman's website for all the latest news, comment, analysis coming out of the Labour conference tomorrow, but also just Scottish politics in general. But until next week, thank you very much for listening.